If you're in the market to buy property, but you don't have a real estate agent yet, what are some things you should consider? We'll talk about that up next. Hey, what's going on, friends? Dylan Onaka here with the Buy Big Island video blog, and I've been asked recently by some folks to help them find a real estate agent, not here necessarily, but somewhere else, because if they're looking here, they should be using me, right? But it's cool. That's a normal thing where folks who are going to buy property somewhere else in the mainland or where they're moving to are looking for a real estate agent and want some advice on who to pick. And so I'm going to do a quick video on that to give you some things that you should consider when choosing a real estate agent, because like a doctor or a lawyer, you want somebody who knows what they're doing. It's a pretty big purchase in your life, a big financial transaction, and you want somebody who is going to help you through that, who knows what they're doing, who's a professional, who isn't going to get you into any trouble. So the first thing is experience and how you judge that, because a lot of people say I have 25 years experience in the business, or I have 10 years experience in the business, and really what's more important about time is transactions. Because if you've been in the business 10 years, but you only do 3 transactions a year, that means lifetime you only have 30 transactions, and that doesn't give you a ton of experience. What you want to look at is recent production and transactions to see what have they done recently in this market that gives them the experience to help you in your home buying process. So, for example, my brother recently was licensed a couple of years ago when we got busy and we needed help, and we convinced him to get his license and join us on our team. And in his first year as a licensee, he saw 50 transactions close because we had so much business going on. And so he got more experience in that first year, I would argue, than somebody who's been in the business 5 or 10 years who don't have that many transactions closed, because there are so many diverse situations that can come up in a transaction that if you don't actually work through them and see them and experience them, you won't necessarily know how to deal with them in the future. So time is important, but I would argue that someone who has less time but more transactions, especially in the current market, in the local market that you're buying in, is going to be more beneficial to you in the long run. The next one, a good way to check on folks, is online reviews. Today, there's online reviews on Zillow, on Trulia, on Realtor.com, on Redfin. Every site out there has online reviews of agents. And if you're an agent in today's online-driven marketplace and you don't care about your online reputation and what your online reviews say, then maybe you're not taking your business that seriously. And so I would argue to go online and check on online reviews and see what people are saying, because somebody who takes the time after a transaction to go online and write a glowing review of an agent is something that means a lot, and it's something that should carry some weight in what you could expect going forward with that agent. Of course, referrals, I talked about that in the beginning. So if you know someone who has worked with an agent that in that local market who had a great experience, ask your friends and folks, and they may be able to refer you to somebody. Or of course, if you know an agent in a different state, they may have a connection to. We go to a lot of conferences and things where we network with folks in other states and meet people that we can refer clients to in other places if they're buying in somewhere outside of our home state, or even outside of our home market. If somebody's going to buy on Maui or Oahu, I would refer you to somebody there, because that's not a market that I work in regularly. So a referral either from an agent or for a friend is a great way to connect and get an idea of who you should be working with. And then I would also evaluate what their business looks like, right? Get a sample. If you go into the cake shop or the cookie store, they always give you samples, and you just don't want to take somebody on their word for it or their online reviews. Take a look at what their business looks like. What are they doing? Especially if you're going to be on the listing side of it, you need to list your home. You can look at how does that agent market their property? Where is it advertised? How is it advertised? Look at past listings to see what their pictures look like and what their descriptions look like, and is it something that you would want your property to look like when you list, because every agent has a style and a different way of doing things and a different advertising program. If you want your listing advertised in the newspaper every weekend and print advertising, there's some agents that still do that. I'm not a big believer in that, and I wouldn't sell you on my ability to do that. But if you want it on Facebook and every social media site and all over the place online where 90% of buyers start their home search, that's something that I can definitely help you with. So look at what their business model looks like, follow their social media, get on their email list, get a feel for how they do business and what they do, and that will help you figure out, what to expect if you hire that agent to then work for you at that point. So see what their business model looks like. In addition to that, Are they a single agent? Do they have a team? Do they have support staff? Are there other people involved in that process? Because that's one thing now in today's market that I feel like is very important, is the single agent model is really hard to sustain if you're doing a high volume, because there's just not enough time in the day to service a lot of listings or a lot of clients if you're working by yourself. And there's a lot of folks out there that are now working on teams, partnerships, different situations where you may get better service based upon their ability and their bandwidth to handle more business. And so that's a important aspect on how you look at an agent's business model and how they go about servicing their clients. And then the last thing I would suggest you look at is just go on a date, right? Get a feel for that person, and if you jive, sit down for a meeting, have coffee, have lunch, and just feel them out. Because I'm a big believer in personal relationships, and is it somebody that you want to work with to go through a really big financial decision in your life, or is it somebody that you just don't really feel comfortable with and maybe you need to find someone else? So just test that personal connection, because it's going to be a trying, stressful experience, and you want somebody that you feel comfortable with, that you can be honest with, that you can laugh with and cry with and yell at if you need to, or whatever it is through that process to keep you calm and sane, because it can be a very difficult experience. Hopefully it's not, and we always try to make it as easy as possible, but you can always run into bumps in the road, and you want to go through those experiences with somebody that you feel comfortable going through an experience like that with. So just sit down with them and see if you jive, because if you do, that's a super important piece to this whole puzzle. So as always, if you got any questions, put them in the comments below, or email me at dylan@buybigisland.com, and I'll get back to you. But hopefully if you're out there looking for a real estate agent somewhere in the world, this helps you choose the right one. I'll see you guys next week. Aloha.